All right, welcome back to Liftoff. And I am really excited to take things up a notch because I've got this incredible expert as our next guest. Kozlowski is an award winning architect. Not only that, but he's the co founder of his own company, Dunn Kozlowski. And they are known for brand elevating experiential design that blends creative vision and business strategy. How amazing is that? It's everything I've searched for in my life because everybody knows me, Paul. Everybody knows that I can do the strategic part, but when it comes to creative and design, that is only done with the help of my friends and family. So I am so thrilled to have you on the show. Welcome to Liftoff.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Jeannie.
Tell me a little bit about what Dunn Kozlowski does. Our viewers are dying to know about what makes your firm so great.
First and foremost, beautiful experiential design. Our whole passion is to create spaces that allow people to come in and be inspired, moved, transported, whatever it may be in their experience in space. Human psychology allows you to be really engaged with those things. And ultimately, I mean, at a base level, we provide architecture, interior design, branding services, but ultimately the goal is to create just really beautiful, inspirational, experiential design that just evokes emotions in people when they come in.
Gosh, and that is so important now, especially in today's AI driven world where things are becoming automated and people really truly are looking for that human touch and that emotional experience. In fact, I've got a whole book about inspiration, authenticity, and relatability coming out called The Trust Threshold. So I know it firsthand, and it's really important for all types of businesses. So tell us about the businesses and the industries that value your company's services the most.
So ultimately, it's about human connection, like you just said. We're living in a more digital world every day, and how do you create more opportunities for human connection? And so most of the places that we work in are hospitality field, restaurants, hotels. But we really take a lot of pride in taking those type of experiences into all works. We do a lot of residential work, and ultimately, it's an expression of a person's brand. Whether that person is a corporation, that person is an individual. What is their brand and how they want to host somebody, how they want to host their guests, how they want to engage with their guests, and how do we create spaces by listening to them and understanding who they are and at their core. How do we create spaces that express that brand and elevate that brand and allow their guests to experience it the way that the host wants them to experience it?
I have to admit, we were doing some research before you came on, and it's not just me, it was the entire team that was blown away when we looked at your website and saw some of the projects that you've created and worked on. Just the incredibly beautiful and thoughtful aesthetic. It's not just an overview or an initial wow. Every single detail and your entire background portfolio is proof of everything that you've done. With the focused on just the aesthetic and the emotion that it evokes from your side and from your agency, are you bringing those thoughts and that kind of structure to the
You got it.
conversations with clients who are just starting to work with you?
Absolutely. So most clients come to the table with thoughts on what they want, right? To your point, there's a lot of times a disconnect in what they're saying and as what their brand is and what they're describing as their space or what they want to see as a final result. And so first and foremost, our job is to listen. I think a lot of mistakes in design are coming with a preconceived notion of what a design should be for a client or coming with, hey, this is our style. If you look at our projects are very across the board in regards to the style and the final execution of them. And the reason for that is that we really try to sit and listen to the client and understand what you just said, like what is their vision, but what are they really saying and what are they really trying to get at as a final solution, and then taking our expertise and what we do for a living and applying that to make that this beautiful outcome. When I have a branding expert sitting at the table and we're listening to what the client is saying, we can put something back in front of them that says, okay, here's the main words we heard you use a lot. And these kind of go together and these don't. And so let's have some real conversations, some thoughtful conversations around what really drives your business. What really, as I said earlier, what really is representative of your brand, right? What you really want your guest. And I say guest because, again, residential, a restaurant, whatever it may be, a corporate office, what you want your guests to feel as soon as they walk into your space. And having that from branding to architects, interior designers, and all the services in house, it allows us to do that seamlessly and really get to the root of like what drives their brand, what drives their business, what drives their passion for why they do whatever it is they do.
Fantastic speaking with you, Paul. Thank you so much for being on Lift Up. This was a great conversation, really fun, really interesting. And it was great to look at a brand from a different perspective. I'm really glad you were on the show.
I just really appreciate you having me. Just encourage everybody to get out there and enjoy the beautiful things that are out there and beautiful designs are out there. They're inspiring to people and go out there and have at it.
Next up is someone who needs no introduction at all, Gary Vaynerchuk, an entrepreneur, an investor, and a cultural icon. But more importantly, just another guy like the rest of us. Gary's built companies, shaped digital marketing, and inspired millions, probably tens of millions, with his no nonsense approach to business and in life. But today, I'm getting really personal with him and going behind the title to find out what drives him and what we should all take away from his brilliance to improve our careers and our personal lives. Gary, welcome to Liftoff.
Thanks for having me.
The first question's about self awareness. You often emphasize self awareness as a cornerstone of success. Tell everybody that's listening what practical steps someone can take to develop a deeper understanding of their strengths and weaknesses, because you've done such a great job of leveraging this in your daily life.
Yeah, this is a great question. So thanks for starting off with a fire one. I actually think there's an amazing relationship with humility and self awareness. A lot of times when someone gives you some feedback and you know it's true, you fight against it because you don't want it to be true. And the second you say it is true, well, then you're on to the other side. And most of my childhood, I had a good enough self esteem that I was able to say that is true. There was definitely things that, candor with people I loved was one that I struggled with. And when people would poke at it, I would cloak it, I would avoid it. And finally, in my early to mid 40s, I finally got to a place where I'm like, I need to own this. And I started talking more publicly about struggling with candor with people I love. Gary Vee in this interview is the best at candor. But as a human, it was hard for me. And these are the journeys we all go through.
I love that you talk about staying authentic and that you talk about going through journeys throughout your entire life, because that's what a lot of liftoff is focused on. So, in this crazy world, and it's getting crazier every minute, how are you balancing your personal growth and your professional ambition?
By not overjudging myself. My relationship with myself is extraordinary. I'm a human being. I think I have extraordinary amounts of shortcomings, but I also have a plethora of great attributes about me. And, I think too many people shit on themselves. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I do not understand why people put other people, often strangers, on pedestals and don't put themselves on a pedestal. I think that the way I'm navigating it is very comfortably, which is I I don't want to become delusional, and I never want ego to seep in. But my relationship with me is good because I know what my intent is. I have good intent, and I'm trying to get better every day, and that's all we can ask.
Right, to wrap this up, you've built an incredible brand by staying authentic to yourself. What are a couple pieces of advice you would give to an emerging leader, especially in today's world, struggling to align their personal values and professional goals, who might be challenged with some setbacks or trying to personally navigate through some interesting times?
I think people compromise. I think they compromise their values, and I think they compromise their peace of mind for the perception that something tangible or financial is some greater journey. And I think it's very clear that it's not. And I hope that even one person was inspired by someone who's outwardly very financially and professionally successful. You know, Jeannie, I think you'd be blown away by how detached I am from my professional success, from my notoriety. I do not get my validation from my monies or my followers or my fame or my accolades publicly or privately or um, digitally or physically. I get them from knowing who I am, how people talk about me behind my back that actually know me, and that level of like 1950s simplicity has made me financially successful, not the other way around. And I hope that people will rewind these last 2 minutes out of my mouth because they are the golden nuggets that I was taught by my elders and society at its best. And it is the message I want people to absorb.
So there you have it. Thanks so much for being on Liftoff, Gary.
Thanks for having me.
If you've ever felt stuck in your career, whether you're leading a business, building a brand, or just building your own brand, I've got something magical for you. It's my new book, The Trust Threshold: Crossing the Line from Stuck to Unstoppable. Inside this book, you will find not only incredible insights that you can listen to, learn from, and try in your daily life, but I've got workshop and worksheets that you can use to help get your brain thinking in the right direction. And at the end of the book, you've got an opportunity to leverage what I call the AIR method: authenticity, inspiration, and relatability. You create anything that you're doing in your life, personally or professionally, and make it successful. So many people are reading a copy of the book and sharing feedback that they're actually taking notes and they're using the workshops inside their leadership team meetings, inside their businesses, and with their marketing teams to help create their brand. It's the coolest thing I've ever heard of, and I can't wait for you to get a copy of this book. Check it out. It's available on Amazon, and I'm so excited. Welcome back to Liftoff. We have an incredible expert right now that I'm very excited to introduce you to. He is Hong Kong based certified counselor and award winning astrologist Letao Wang. He's also the founder of Healing Kingdom and the creator of the Intuitive Oracle card decks. Welcome to Liftoff, Letao.
Hello, Jeannie. Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here.
So I have a few questions for you. And the first one is just about how people are feeling right now. A lot of people feel like the
Hmm.
world is speeding up, something's off
Yeah, yeah.
emotionally and mentally. From your perspective, what's
Hmm.
really going on beneath the surface?
Right. So I think we can really talk about this from many different perspectives. But first of all, because I am a counseling astrologist, and so the first thing, of course, we're gonna look at what's happening in the sky and the movement of the stars. And because in astrology, the foundation is about as above, so below, right? We are at the end of the day a reflection of what is happening up there, and where everything is happening in a synchronized motion. So when you talk about, a lot of things happening, chaos and things like that, not just, in the US or, in Hong Kong, but, we see, news at a global level, right? The chaos, the incidents, things like that. There has been some very interesting transit happening. Topping the list is the Saturn and Neptune's conjunction in Aries. And this is, I would say, really the most important transit happening right now, and this is going to continue actually at least for the entire 2026, possibly extending into 2027.
So, with the Mercury going into retrograde, what does that mean for us? Is it a time when we just need to be more thoughtful about the decisions that we make?
All the planets are always moving, in the same direction, right? They don't actually move backward. But because we live on the earth, we don't live on the sun. So our view is not from the sun, our view is from the earth. So that's why usually 3 times per year, it seems like Mercury is moving backward. Look, I just want to clarify that, yeah, because I understand that some people, maybe they will say, "Oh, what are you talking about? Mercury never moves backward. I'm a scientist. I know." Yes, you're right. It doesn't. It's an illusion to put it in that way because we are talking about an Earth-centric perspective rather than a solar-centric. And so, and our ancestors from the past days realized this pattern. So when Mercury is moving backward, we realize that a lot of things happening on the earth tends to move backward as well. So this could be about, for example, travel gets delayed. This could be about maybe you rush into a plan and later you realize that you have to replan it again because it doesn't work, etc., etc. And to me, actually, because it happens 3 times a year, it's not something that is really dramatic. You know what I mean, right? I mean, pretty much, 3 times a year, and every time when Mercury is in retrograde motion, it lasts for 3 weeks. So 9 weeks per year, we are having Mercury retrograde. So I don't want us to be, overly dramatic about it.
When people are working with you, when they come to you as a counselor, what's the first piece of advice that you normally give to them? How do you start having conversations with people that really does help them along their journeys?
Oh wow, it's really case by case to be honest, right? Because every a counseling session is a very customized thing to be honest. And some clients you can really cut to the chase with them about the issues and problems, right? And some clients you really need to, rather than the solution part, because a lot of people coming to counseling sessions, but they are not looking for solutions. They're looking for a compassionate ear. And I'm sure you understand that. So I think as a counselor, it's very important that we can also use our intuition to understand what our clients are really looking for, rather than just, okay, this is the prescription, do it, right? And that really sets, us different from, including, when we are talking to a friend. Some friend just, shove the solution to us. Okay, you just do that, that's gonna be fine, right? Stop, being so weak. But some friend, they really have a ear for you, and they will listen to you, and they can offer you the empathy that you really need. And I think that's a very important thing in counseling. So it's really case by case thing, to be honest. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if I have to find something really in common, I think um, understanding and to be able to put ourselves in our client's shoe, that's really the most important thing, whatever counseling session that we are doing. And then we can combine that with the astrology, ancient astrology, and also numerology. Sometimes I might even use my own oracle cards or tarot to read people and to give them either the solution or the advice that they need.
I am sure I'm going to be receiving a lot of questions and comments when everyone sees this conversation. Just be ready. People are going to reach out. Thanks so much for being on Liftoff.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ross Simmonds is a global thought leader and entrepreneur who helps scale brands through content that connects. Through foundation marketing, he's taught thousands how to turn creativity and consistency into unstoppable growth. I came across him when he was giving a special group presentation and became obsessed with him and his approach. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome to Liftoff.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here. Thrilled to have the chance to chat and share more about what I do and all the wonderful things that are changing the way that we work as marketers, communicators, and creators today.
One of the things that I love about you is that you have this unique and fresh approach to the way that content and content marketing actually works. A million years ago, at the beginning of email marketing, me and some other people brought the same kind of approach and concepts to email. It was super new, super innovative. Some people scratched their head, some people jumped on board right away. Are you getting the same responses and reactions from your approaches? I'm sure you are. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fear in the marketing industry at large when I start to talk about some of the different topics like content distribution mattering more than what you actually create. When I talk about the power of channels like Reddit that have been considered by many to be kind of like hands off, don't go there channels for some time. Or I talk about the fact that, yes, in fact, we should embrace this thing called AI and not view it as a threat, but instead view it as kind of our partner in crime as we create content and try to influence people and help them make decisions to buy things that we are supporting and the brands that we represent. So it's definitely a mix, but one of the most beautiful things that I've seen is that as people start to get a little bit uncomfortable trying new things, the message kind of becomes easy because when people start to see the results, it speaks for itself. When you start to really invest the time and energy to distribute your content, you use AI to augment it, and you go into channels where your audience is, but your competitors might be afraid of, you ultimately end up winning. And customers kind of see that, the market sees that, and then they start to have the light bulbs go off, which is great.
Well, I've got to say, you are one of the few people that I've spoken with that seems to be on the front end of the trend of AI being the augmenter and not the driver of some of this, which I completely appreciate. And the other thing that I'm obsessed with about you, there are so many, is that you say the best content comes from passion. How does love for the craft change business outcomes?
Yeah, so I have always had this belief that content has the ability to shape culture. When you think of your own beliefs, you think of humanity, society at large, a lot of the worldviews, the perspectives, the ideas that we have as humans are shaped by content, whether we're talking about historical texts, whether we're talking about the stories that our parents tell us, whether we're talking about the stories that we read, the movies we watch, the content that we read in school, whatever it might be, it's essentially content that has influenced our world perspective and views. And when you can get excited about a certain topic, you don't go through it in a way that's kind of stagnant. You're just lit up about the exploration of an idea, of a concept, of a story, of an industry, of a niche. And through your own passion for discovery and learning, you're going to find insights that the rest of the market is sleeping on. Because everyone else, when they are viewing it as a 9 to 5, a task that they have to do just because it's going to pay the bills, instead of this is my calling, this is something I can get excited about, then you're going to stand out. You're going to have the ability to create better stories. For me, it started at a very young age, creating stories and content about video games. And when I was a young kid and I was writing about The Sims and Madden and all of these video games, I was able to see the impact that I could have on a global scale, reaching people when I was like 18 years old, living in my parents' basement. And I was like, wow. If I can take this and allocate it to something like my degree, marketing, and start to write about marketing with I'm passionate about communications, I'm passionate about AI, I'm passionate about tech, what will happen? And what happened was pretty wild. I started to get opportunities all over the world to help some of the biggest brands in the world do marketing. So, long story, little bit longer, your competitive advantage is how much fun you can have doing your work, because when everyone else might feel burnt out from this idea, you're just playing, and that's unstoppable.
Russ, this conversation was packed with so much incredible insight, so much intelligence, a lot of inspiration. Thank you so much for being an expert here with us on Liftoff.
Thanks for having me on Liftoff. I'm a super fan of what you all do, and I love that you're lifting off so many people's careers, so many people's minds, and keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see.
And if you haven't checked out my new book, The Trust Threshold, you can go to Amazon and check it out. And you can follow us at Liftoff Show on most social networks. Thanks so much. I'm your host, Jeannie Walden. See you next time.